Liberty, with you for every step on the road to financial freedom.
If we're being honest, we could all probably find places to curb our spending if we really needed to. But I know it's not nice having to give up on those little guilty pleasures and creature comforts. Well, today's FinSmart guest will be giving us a reality check and show us how we can cut some unnecessary costs. All right, let's start with broad strokes here.
Yes.
In general, how good are South Africans at saving, and especially for the long term?
You know what? South Africans are just not saving. We are spending way more than we are saving. And just to give you a picture, there was a study done by one of the banks, and they showed that South African households cannot afford a 1 month expenses if they were to lose their job. Then even on the long-term side, it's even more grim. Only 6% of South Africans are able to retire comfortably. The rest, you have to continue working even when your body is just saying no. You will have to rely on your family, perpetuating black tax. And lastly, you will have to rely on government, and we all know how that goes. So the picture is very grim.
Okay, so why is it difficult to identify and to cut down on those unnecessary costs?
Tony, you know what? Every time people ask me, how can we cut down? I'm like, people are tired of hearing of cutting down, right? Because the cost of living is just so ridiculously high. So I think it's not fair all the time to keep on telling people, keep on cutting costs, keep on cutting costs. Definitely, I understand that you have to look at your budget and review and say, what expense here is not a need, right? But I think maybe the conversation could go a bit further, right? And say, how can people cut? I consider the big wins. And for me, the big wins is, instead of, if your bank says you qualify for a 1 million rent house, don't go for the 1 million rent house. Go for the 500,000 rent house or 600,000 rent. That gives you room to breathe, to enjoy your coffee, to enjoy the things that, the simple things of life.
So those are big ticket items you mentioned now. Let's talk about the low-hanging fruit. Yeah. Where can one start?
If you know that you are living way beyond your means, perhaps it's time to downgrade. I'll give you an example. I was watching this other lady on YouTube, and she says that she had bought herself a Mercedes-Benz. She was a graduate, a CA, and she thought, goodness, I'm earning so much money. After 2 years, she could not sustain having that Mercedes-Benz. What did she do? She took it back. Right? But people oftentimes don't do that because they're afraid, what will Tony say? Tony saw me driving in my Mercedes-Benz the other day. So you really have to take a look at your circumstances and say, do I want peace? If you want peace and financial peace, go for big ticket items. That is the quickest way to cut and win at your finances.
Okay, so I've started saving. What do I do with the money I'm saving?
If you have debt, you need to pay it off because debt costs money. And money that you could possibly be saving or investing. Then from there, you need to start saving for an emergency. You need to have an emergency fund, at least 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses. So for me, I always say start with what you can. So what is it that you can actually afford? Is it to start putting away 2,000 rand? Once you do that, you pat yourself on the back and you move to the next level, 5,000 rand. You pat yourself on the back, 10,000 rand. And once you've done that, you realize that I actually am capable of doing this. Then the last thing, you need to start thinking about long-term investing. Here I'm talking about towards your retirement or saving towards your future. And you can do this through a retirement annuity or through tax-free savings accounts.
Mapalo, thank you so much. So there you have it. Before you make that next big purchase, pause a little and ask yourself if this is something that you want or something that you need. If you can start training your mind to think differently about the way you spend and what you spend it on, those small sacrifices could have a big effect on your long-term financial well-being.
It's not just your financial freedom, it's your liberty. Let's make it count. Liberty, in it with you.